A person who looks exactly like me appeared outside the door late at night.
Running in soon.
Just as she was about to open the door, trying to confirm who the other party was, she disappeared into thin air. The scene in front of me made me chill all over, and I lay on the bed shrinking, recalling what the man just said.
The end is coming, and he told me to run, which means that the place I live in now doesn't.
It's safe, so I decided to leave here immediately after dawn. I got on the bus early the morning of the second day.
My parents' home, Dad. I'll be at the station in an hour.
Please pick me up at the station.
After my son hung up the phone, I soon fell asleep. I don't know how long later, there was a sudden scream in the car, and I was suddenly awakened. I saw a woman's eyes moving empty, gently picking up and biting another man like a political style. My heart arrest instantly was terrible.
Is it a zombie apocalypse?
When I came, I hurriedly looked out. The bus was just parked at my destination station, and my father's car was parked not far in front of the bus. I quickly jumped out of the car and ran forward as quickly as possible. At this time, a group of people screamed in pain from the bus behind me. It wasn't until I ran into the bus that I looked back. I saw a group of people coming down from the bus one after another. Their eyes were empty and their limbs were stiff, and they saw passers-by all rushing at them like the wind.
Dad, drive faster.
This what?
What's going on? The zombies have all turned into zombies.
Hearing this, my dad's face changed. He hit the accelerator and headed to Nongmao City.
Before the market breaks out, we must stock up more supplies. I will buy meat and vegetables, and you can grab some vegetarian items.
Just do it. I went to the vegetarian area and bought all instant noodles, compressed biscuits, canned self-heating rice and bottled water. It only took us 10 minutes to fill the trunk and back seat of the car. Suddenly I thought again.
Dad, we haven't bought a cold yet.
Where's the medicine? Dad didn't speak, but stepped on the accelerator and drove the car directly to the door of a nearby pharmacy. I immediately ran into the pharmacy, but less than a few seconds later, I heard my father shout anxiously in the car, "I'll go back quickly." I looked behind the car and saw a group of people fleeing everywhere. I was suddenly covered in heritage, so I quickly took the medicine and jumped into the car. My father started the car directly and drove home. Along the way, we narrowly avoided several car accidents and finally drove the car to the underground garage of the community safely. Just as we were ready to carry materials, we happened to meet the property, Lao Zhang, who was usually enthusiastic. If everyone had something to look for him, he would help him as soon as possible.
Busy handling it, Uncle Zhang. Go home quickly. Something big happened outside. A brat who doesn't even have a girlfriend has the nerve to joke with me.
What my son said is really not kidding. You'd better go back and hide.
Besides, Lao Zhang didn't believe what our father and father said. He just left after a few polite words. I could only sigh helplessly. Then my father and I waited for the elevator with these materials. I pressed the button, and the elevator slowly descended from the 8th floor. But after a second, I suddenly thought of something and trembled all over. If there is someone in the elevator at this time and the person inside has been infected, then after the elevator door is opened, my father and I will be finished. I was just about to pull my father to hide first, but it takes 1 second to get off the elevator door. Here I came. I held my breath and stared at the elevator. Fortunately, there was no one in it, so I was relieved and went back and forth several times. Finally, we moved all the supplies home and were about to have a rest when we suddenly heard my father shout, "I'm fine," and my heart suddenly felt tight.
Yeah, what?
Well, I just searched the bedroom, bathroom, and kitchen, but your mother is not here.
When I heard this, I was suddenly thundered.
In the morning, I heard you say you'd go home, buy food, and cook for you, but it's not done yet.
When I came back, I quickly called my mother. However, no one answered the phone for a long time. I didn't dare to think about it. I made several calls in a row, and finally a familiar voice came from the other end of the phone. Xiaomo.
Ah, what's wrong with you? After all these phone calls, are you home? We're here.
Home, where are you?
When I came back from shopping and took the elevator, I met your Aunt Li, so I went to his house to chat about fire, and Tian Li ah.
My aunt lives downstairs, and Mom visits her when she has free time.
Mom, come back quickly. Something big happened. I'll tell you when you return.
After hanging up the phone, I immediately ran to the stairs, and my mother had already come up from downstairs. Just then, I suddenly heard strange footsteps upstairs, which were very slow, but it became clearer and clearer. I subconsciously raised my head and suddenly had a cardiac arrest. The neighbor upstairs was also infected. I hurriedly pulled my mother to the house. At the moment we closed the door, a hand reached in, and I didn't know where he tried so hard to get into the door. Even his head reached in. There was a sander coach who lived next door to us. When he heard something outside, he opened the door and came out to check. He thought someone was tying us, so he rushed over with a stride and kicked the bereaved man away. But when he saw the zombie clearly, he instantly...
Your pupils burst, hide quickly, that's...
Zombies! We locked the door and didn't dare to make any noise. Trend. There are 4 tigers in one ladder. Besides my family and Sanda coach, there is a couple who live across my door with the old Zhang family of the property. The conditions of this couple's home seem to be quite good. Men go out to work every day, while women take care of men's food and daily life at home. I don't know how long the whole community began to become noisy, one after another, screaming mixed with help. I came to the balcony and looked down. Many people ran out from the corridor like a wind. However, what they didn't know was that the situation outside was worse than in the community. After a whole day of high mental tension, the cry was pressed down when the sky was dark, and I fell asleep tired. I wonder how long it took. There was a knock outside the door. I suddenly woke up. I tipped my hands and came to the living room. I saw that my parents had already been guarding behind the door. I looked through the cat's eye and saw that the man who lived opposite me had returned with a bag of vegetables in his hand. What made me feel strange was that I could clearly hear the choked sound of the hostess opposite me, but he didn't see him open the door for a long time. When the man saw that the woman didn't open the door, he put the bag at the door and prepared to leave. But when she turned around, I suddenly gasped.
The man opposite. He has lost his appearance. He should be worried that his wife will not have food, so he will come back to give it while he is still conscious.
His wife delivered food, and the man slowly came to the elevator and pressed the button to leave here. But when the elevator door opened, there was a zombie inside. After seeing the man, he didn't respond, but wanted to get out of the elevator. The man pushed him back and closed the elevator door silently. It was noon in a blink of an eye. I picked up my mobile phone to check the infected situation outside, and saw that the official release of a distribution map of the infected areas. Because the situation came so suddenly and spread quickly, the official didn't find it for a while. The absolute choice is to send helicopters to constantly remind you to stay at home, lock your doors and windows, and don't wander around. After a few days, the water from the faucet is turbid and smells foul. Many people called to inquire about the property, but no one answered the phone. Although we hoarded several barrels of pure water a few days ago, if the water quality problem has not been solved, we won't last long. Now we have lost the crisis and gradually spread inland. The official has set up barrier belts at some important nodes, which are guarded by the armed forces 24 hours a day. If the situation gets out of control, the final result will only dispatch missiles to completely level the out-of-control areas. At noon this day, there was a faint understanding from outside. I came to the balcony and looked down. The lazy zombies were attracted by the sound. They all quickly ran towards our building. Then, a car drove out of the building's underground garage. Although all the zombies in front of them were knocked away by the car, due to the large number of zombies, the car was still besieged by the zombies. Before long, the zombies scattered. A few days later, there was a sudden knock at the door. We were suddenly shocked. We hurried behind the door and looked through the cat's eye. It turned out to be the counter-hitting coach who lived next door. He saw his face pale, his lips chapped and his low voice.
Sister Lynn?
She should call my mother, Lynn. Despite no reply from us, she continued, Sister Lynn.
My mum and I haven't had water for days. Recently, I helped move bottled water. Please give us some.
Drink water, Dad and I coincide.
Looking at Mom, there was no bottled water at home the day before you came back, so I ordered a machine bucket. The coach saw it at that time and helped me carry it in. He was nice, and when the funeral was about to break into our house that day, he was the one who kicked the zombie and saved our Yi family, so I still gave him some water.
Well, my father and I didn't object after hearing this, and decided to give him half a bucket of water. But the Sander coach has practiced after all. If we open the door and give it to him directly, if he gets bold, none of us will be his opponent, so Dad thought.
It's a sure strategy. Go home and wait. We'll leave the water at the door when you arrive.
As soon as she finished speaking, the coach's eyes lit up and he immediately expressed his gratitude. Then he turned around and went back. After she left, my father quickly put a bucket of water at the door. After a while, the coach moved the water from my door. A few days later, the sound of helicopters came from the sky again, and we hurried to the balcony. I heard the broadcast from the helicopter.
Citizens, attention. The official has established a safe haven in Nanhu Police District. Special medicine will be sprinkled at 12 noon tomorrow to put the bereaved teacher into dormancy for 5 hours. Please rush to Nanhu Scenic Area for evacuation during this period.
There are only 11 good news we have heard these days. We have saved us.
I immediately went back to the house and began to pack my things. I packed 3 backpacks to the brim. The next morning, when I was still asleep, I was suddenly woken up by the loud music. I ran to the balcony and saw that it was a helicopter with a stereo rock to lead the funeral, another direction, equipped for us to escape. This sound continued for more than 2 hours. At this time, looking down, there were only a few zombies scattered on the road. Most of them were attracted by the sound. At 12 o'clock noon, many helicopters appeared in the sky at the same time, constantly spewing transparent liquid. I saw that the zombies either fell down or stood still not long after coming into contact with these liquids. We were also well armed at this time, each with a backpack and a guy in his hand. We opened the door and walked out. At the same time, the woman opposite the door and the coach mother and son next door couldn't get out almost at the same time, because the electricity had already stopped at this time. Consequently, we had no choice but to proceed to the underground garage via the stairs. Just as we arrived at the stairs, sudden footsteps echoed from above. We became immediately anxious. We fixed our gaze on the corridor, hearing only footsteps growing nearer and nearer. It turned out to be the upstairs occupants. Relieved, we continued to the ground floor to engage. The coach and his mother led the way, and we followed closely behind, heading to the adjacent floor. After rounding a corner, the coach let out a sudden shout.
Yes.
Zombie! We hurriedly rushed over and saw a zombie lion pressing tightly on the coach. My father and I mustered up the courage to run over and waved our manual baseball bat vigorously. Finally, we got rid of the zombie, and then our family. A woman and coach opposite the door, mother and son in one car, and we drove in tandem to Nanhu Scenic Area. Because of the loss of dormancy, there were not many obstacles along the way. I don't know how long it took, but I saw the roadside platform marking that there was 1 kilometer left from the Nanhu Scenic Area. Not far ahead was a 600-meter-long tunnel. Due to the power outage and the fact that the tunnel was relatively residential, it would be a bit difficult to escape if something happened. I couldn't help but get nervous before I drove in. Not long after, I saw a few zombies wandering in the middle of the road. Hearing the movement of the car, they lunged at us, and my father stepped on the accelerator and hit it. Just when I thought we had escaped a bullet, I didn't want to suddenly rush out another group of zombies from the back of the tunnel. This time, it wasn't a few occasionally, but a group of zombies. There was no way out now, so we could only fight. When my father talked hard, the accelerator rushed over, but there were too many funerals. In the end, the car was trapped, and the coach car behind it was not spared. Yunnan, as the zombies crowded, the window glass began to crack. With the sound of opening, I closed my eyes in despair, waiting for that moment to come. However, after a long time, I suddenly found that the surroundings seemed to be quiet, and I dared to open my eyes. The zombies surrounding the car all fell to the ground. When they looked forward, it turned out that a group of heavily armed men had sprayed the special potion, causing the zombies to fall dormant.
Mum and Dad, we're saved.
In the whole play,